back in Marrakesh and thoroughly enjoying the sunshine. Many more people here now. April and May are fantastic times for Marrakesh. The weather is perfect. It's not too hot, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And the hotels are mainly backed up with people. I used the time to read an enormous amount of books that I meant to catch up on. This book is not a Marple or a Poirot novel by Agatha Christie, but is actually a fascinating adventure set in Morocco, and not only in Morocco, but in all the hotels I stay in Morocco, although she wrote it in 1953, which is actually quite fascinating to watch or to read, because I'm staying there now, many years later. As I've said before, A Victim Bites Back was started 79 episodes ago to basically examine my travel process, because I was due to set out back in November, a year and a half ago, on my drive through Paris, Bruges, down to Biarritz, across to Madrid, Seville, all the way down to Morocco on the ferry, and then down to Marrakesh, where I am now. And I thought that would interest people who liked Entertainment USA when I looked at travel around the United States. Anyway, I only intended to do the series for a number of about 13 weeks, but it caught on like wildfire. People watching it either here on the dedicated site www.avictimbitesback.com, or on YouTube or Reddit or Instagram or TikTok or all the various other sites you can see shows these days, and they all let me know they wanted it to continue. So I thought, well, I'll let it go on until 50 episodes. That's about a year. That's enough. Thank you very much. And again, after the year was over, people said, please continue, even though it meant a lot of the episodes taking place in London or Great Britain anyway. But they found that interesting. They liked listening to the music, such as the wonderful Tina Harvey, a vastly underrated singer in my opinion, whose album I made back in the early 1970s. Anyway, so now I'm back in Morocco, in Marrakesh, in little car as opposed to baby car. Baby car is the Suzuki Cappuccino. Little car is this one, which is my little Rolls Royce. And driving around Marrakesh and giving my opinions on various matters that are in the news, but also telling you a little about Morocco, which I would urgently tell you to visit for a holiday if you've never been here. It's a fantastic country, very beautiful, lovely people here, excellent food and cuisine and everything else, well worth coming to. This is the Ed Sardi Hotel, which was in fact the very first casino in all of Africa. We used to come and stay here in the 60s, us pop stars. I remember bumping into many large pop stars, including Mick Jagger, who came here regularly and ended up buying a place here in Marrakesh. I don't know if he still owns it. I'm listening to the new Taylor Swift album. It's absolutely awful. I was having a discussion on one of those Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, one of those different sites, about whether or not Taylor Swift is the biggest star of all time. And I'm saying she's not a star at all. She has absolutely no appeal to anybody outside her tiny area of fans. And that's what's happened over the last 20 years with music in general. People who have no appeal, no mass appeal whatsoever, are very big to their little tiny coterie of fans. BTS, One Direction, Justin Bieber. So many of them just have no appeal at all to the masses, to the grandmothers and the small children and the office workers, the accountants, the taxi drivers. Taylor Swift has no appeal at all to that. Now listen to this album. All it is repeated phrases, melodic phrases or riffs with silly teenage type lyrics put to it that really mean nothing, and it just goes on and track after track. And the one thing you're feeling is, oh my God, Taylor Swift, you desperately need a producer. No wonder you haven't got one after you sued everybody to get out of contracts and all that kind of shit. That's what artists do. They think it's all up to them, and actually they only contribute a tiny amount to the final thing. Taylor Swift desperately needs a decent producer who will say to her, cut that out, do a more interesting chorus there, for heaven's sakes have an intro that grabs the attention, write some lyrics that mean something instead of just use your fan shit. She of course will not do it. They don't want to be told, these people. And the result is we have a load of artists who are very big technically on paper, have billions of streams and actually sell out concerts and gigs like mad, which is dead easy if you've got a small fan base. By small I mean several million, and they're in each city in the country, so you do a gig there, it'll sell out 20,000-30,000 people. All the fans will come to it. Nobody else will have heard of it. Stars are people like Marlene Dietrich, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, people who everybody knew about, everybody liked their music or was interested in their music or at least had heard their music. You probably could not name, unless you're a Taylor Swift fan, a single Taylor Swift record. I'm skipping the odd track now because I'm talking to you, but I know the rest of the album is going to be just as awful shit as the first 7 tracks, which is all I've heard. It's just repetitive, boring, uninspiring, unmelodic, unoriginal crap. As usual, I've had too much sun on the first day of summer, but I want to play you another lady who I think is a real singer as opposed to Taylor Swift. More Tina Harvey.
Have you seen your mother, baby, standing in the shadow? Have you had another baby, standing in the shadow? I'm glad I opened your eyes. The have-nots would have tried to freeze you in ice. Have you seen your brother, baby, standing in the shadow? Have you had another baby, standing in the shadow? I was just passing the time. I'm all alone. Won't you give all your sympathy to mine? Tell me a story about how you adore me. We live in the shadow, we see through the shadow, we glimpse through the shadow, we tear the shadow, we hate in the shadow, and love in the shadow, and life. Have you seen your mother, baby, standing in the shadow? Have you had another baby, standing in the shadow? Where have you been all my life? You
I've spoken earlier about my opinion on what's happening to Donald Trump in America, in New York, one of my other favourite cities where I've lived for many, many years. I hate what's going on with him. It is so grossly unfair. I don't like the man. I don't think he was a good president. He was, I thought, in my opinion, a bad president. Not a ghastly president, rather like Theresa May was a ghastly president. Boris Johnson was just a bad Prime Minister. Boris Johnson was just a bad Prime Minister. Liz Truss was so disastrous she's really not worth mentioning. Sunak is doing all right, but I really don't like some of his policies, like the close down all the borders and send people off to Rwanda rubbish he's going on. But I think his intentions are probably good. Can't stand Keir Starmer, who, when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, told the police that all victims, all people claiming to be victims, must be believed, must be called victims, and must be investigated as though everything they're saying is true, which just is completely wrong. And anybody starting that, rather like abandoning the presumption of innocence, deserves not to be in public office under any circumstances. So I would say Keir Starmer is the last person who should be elected Prime Minister. Don't think much of Ed Davey either. But as I started all this on Trump, who I think seems like a really unpleasant man actually as a human being, and I disagreed with nearly all of his policies, but I don't think presidents or prime ministers have much power. They set the table, as it were. They're the public face of government, but they do very little. It's the individual people in charge of individual areas who do things, and it's basically the Parliament or in America, the Senate or whoever, who basically make the laws and change the laws, and really no president or prime minister is over them. On the other end of the scale, you have the complete dictatorships of people, a lot of them in these African countries and in some of the Asian countries. And again, most of them get spoiled by the success. And even when they've been in office and start in office, they sort of go off. Prime example in Tunisia, when Ben Ali started off as a really good president, and his family and friends and everything got into the corruption thing, and the whole thing fell apart, causing the disastrous Arab Spring, because the Arabs, like many other countries, need very strong rulers, but well-intentioned rulers, a benign autocracy, as I call it, who has a limited time of serving in office. But the main problem, of course, is the media. The media will criticise anything anybody does and will expect all politicians, be they presidents or prime ministers, to do what the media tells them is popular with their readers or viewers or listeners. And that's any populist thing that goes down the majority line, which is often, in fact, I'd say usually, wrong.
I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. 'Cause I've tried, and I've tried, and I've tried, and I've tried. I can't get no, I can't get no. When I'm driving in my car, any man
The Hackney Diamonds Rolling Stones tour of America and around the world is getting fantastic reviews. As I stroll around the gardens of La Mamounia Hotel in Marrakesh, which Winston Churchill, who painted here many times, described as the most beautiful place on earth, I simply cannot understand how Mick Jagger, who's a year older than me, can perform on stage the way he does. I find it quite difficult going up and down stairs. Many stories about Mick, which I'll tell you over the ensuing episodes. Television I've been watching over the past few weeks include Red Eye, which had a fantastic review in, I think, the Times, comparing it to eating a kebab rather than a Michelin 3-star meal, but saying sometimes you felt like a kebab, in my case, like a Chinese takeaway. Professor T, which is, I think, tremendous. It stars Ben Miller. Death in Paradise has never been the same since Ben Miller left. He is actually fantastic in it, but so is Francis de la Tour, who's in it. And on Netflix, Baby Reindeer, which is a really good, intricate and subtle examination of the stalking problem. I recommend all three. Well, that's it for A Victim Bites Back, show 79. See you, I hope, for episode 80, coming up at some point over the next few days.